AITA for denying my ex's son after he abandoned us, and I took the choice alone to give him up for adoption. Throwaway so get your this is fake because new account comments out early. I 32F had a baby boy when I was 16. Yes. I know how that sounds like. No. We weren't careful. Judge me all you want on that front. I've dealt with that for years. Mike 33M was my boyfriend then, and when I found out about my pregnancy, he did a disappearing act with help from his family. Something future college star something. My parents were always blunt. What happened next was my choice. After a lot of thinking and deciding abortion just wasn't for me, I respect that right. I'm not here to debate it. It was just not for me. I chose to give up the baby for adoption. My parents knew a super sweet couple that were looking to adopt. We met and I just knew they were the right people. This turned from a teen mistake to an almost surrogacy. I started homeschool to finish my education and to have rest. The adoptive parents were with me for everything and even paid for most of the medical cost. The adoptive mother was a teacher, so she helped me with my schoolwork and to prepare for college. They were present for the birth and I refused to hold the baby. Instead, his actual mother did. And it was just right. I've stayed in the baby's life in a distant position as a special aunt. Well, he's no longer a baby and he knows who I am. But his mom is the same woman that raised him and I continue to be his special aunt. The only change is now he knows who to call if he needs a kidney. His sense of humor is like mine, go figure. We talk maybe once in a blue moon, which in all honesty is the best. He's happy and I don't regret giving him up to have a happy life. For my part, I married 6 years ago. My husband, Aaron, 44M, was divorced in good terms with Bella, 40F. They have 2 children together, a boy that is 16 and a girl that is 19. Aaron made it clear since we began dating that his kids' approval was important and that Bella was part of his life forever. Not as a spouse but as a friend and mother to his children. I also told Bella and him about my teen pregnancy. Well, to begin with the kids, my stepdaughter and I get along well. She's obviously closer to her mother, but she still does girls' days with me every so often. It's more like friends though. My stepson is incredibly close to me. He calls me his other mom and always asks me to be present for important events. We bonded when his childhood dog passed away, as my cat died about the same time. Bella and I were best friends. I know people have complicated relationships with their partners EXCs, but we always show respect to each other. I never tried to take her place. I know Aaron and her shared something special long before I was in the picture. That's their history, and I am a stepmom, not a mom. Her place in the kid's life is not up for competition. The reason for this background is that the whole mess with Mike started when I took my stepson to a medical appointment. It wasn't serious, though he did have to use anesthesia. Aaron and Bella both couldn't get the day off. They tried, but their jobs are on call and they cannot easily take time off. So I went on my own to be my stepson's support. I didn't recognize Mike as one of the doctors. His real name, both first and last name, are incredibly common and it had been years. Not to mention my priority was being my stepson's support and everything else was secondary. After my stepson was done, he was a bit out of it as expected. I was setting him up in the car and making sure he was comfortable when Mike came over. He told me he had been thinking about me and our son for so long, and he was glad our boy was okay. It really took me a few minutes for my brain to click on what was going on, and he kept on rambling about apologies and how he wasn't ready to be a father. Blah blah blah. Eventually I just sighed and loudly said, "This is not the baby I was pregnant with. I gave him up for adoption after I gave birth. I'm a stepmother." My loopy stepson chimed in with, "Other mom." I had to hold back a smirk, to be honest. Mike was stunned by that and it gave me time to catch him up on the important details. I gave up the baby. He knows what happened and why I gave him up. I married a man with 2 children. I am happy and don't want him in my life. And no, I won't give him contact information for the adoptive family. He's 16 years too late. That was the end of it and I got into my car to get my stepson home to rest. Since then, Mike found me in social media and has been painting this sob story about me denying him a chance to be a father. How I was a poor mother that threw away her child to raise someone else's children. I'm basically the she-devil apparently. Most of our former classmates that saw the post reminded him that he left me. Some of his H's friends even pointed out he laughed about leaving me pregnant. I didn't know that part. A few of his relatives have reached out to bash me about taking Mike's chance to be a father. That it made me a poor Christian. I'm not. I'm Jewish to begin with. A few friends did tell me it was a beachy move to give the baby up without telling Mike. I don't personally think I was in the wrong, but in case I decided to leave the judgment to the internet masses. So, Reddit, AITA.
My sister seems to think she's entitled to my trust fund and lied to try and get it. There's a bit of backstory to this, and I'm not sure what's relevant, but I'm sure you'll tell me if I blather on too much. Mostly I just need to rant. My 38F family is a little messed up. I essentially have had 5 parents and 3 different groups of siblings. It's a bit much. As a child, I was living in the US with my adoptive parents and a lot of shit went down that wasn't great, so I moved back to the UK when I was 9. I had a lot of trauma and the beginnings of a rather serious drug problem. And so my US dad set up a trust for me before he died so that anything mental health related was paid for and I didn't have to stress about being able to sort myself out as I got older. It's been rather handy over the last 30 years, paying for a home when I was a teenager, therapy, rehab. Basically anything needed to help me not die. At some point in my teenage years, I made contact with my biological parents and their other kids, and was welcomed back into the fold. Some of my full siblings had issues with this, fair enough, it was a big change to everyone's lives. My little sister, now early 30s, apparently found it particularly hard and so we've never got along and have been NC for almost a decade. This has become particularly apparently in recent weeks after she contacted the solicitors who are in control of the trust, pretending to be from a rehab facility in the US. She sent them an invoice for a 3-month stay, requesting payment to the bank account of a friend of hers in the US. The first I heard about this was a phone call from said solicitors offering their commiseration that I was due to enter the facility, wishing me luck and double-checking the details. I am livid. This is tens of thousands of pounds that she's tried to steal from me, money that she has absolutely no right to. She never met my adoptive parents, she's not owed any money from them, she's lived a perfectly normal life with both of her parents, her other siblings, holidays, uni paid for, no big dramas. And she thinks she can just take from me because she wants to buy a house and thinks I should help her out because I ruined her childhood. Except she can't even just ask, she has to try and steal it. I have no idea what to do about this, because if I go to the police then it'll create even more drama in the family that I could do without, and I feel like that's exactly what she wants. Our parents will side with her, and she knows it. I don't want to give her the satisfaction, but I'm just so mad that she chose this specific way to try and take what's not hers. It feels like such a low blow. Obviously she's getting sweet FA, but WTF.
AITA for my daughter getting special treatment over my stepdaughter. I've been getting attacked by my husband's Miss family for weeks and I'm at a breaking point. I don't know what to do. I've to 9F been married to my husband 31M for a year and a half, been together 3 in total. I'm divorced. He was with his ex for years and they broke up. I have a 10-year-old daughter. He has a 9-year-old daughter. The girls get along well and I love my stepdaughter. She's very sweet and kind-hearted, and when she comes every other week we all get excited. She's also an amazing older sister to our baby last year. My daughter's father moved back to our home state after our divorce and my daughter sees him and his family every summer. He's not really an active dad, but he spoils our daughter profusely as a way to apologize for moving far away. This is where some of the issues lie. If my daughter asks her dad for something and he Amazons it to our house, my stepdaughter will feel jealous. For example, last May my daughter wanted the brand new iPad that just came out and she asked her father for it and he bought it for her. When it arrived, my stepdaughter was sad because hers is old and has a cracked screen. And she asked my husband to buy the same one brand new, but he couldn't afford it and her mom was furious. We explained my ex-husband bought it for her, but she still was upset. She said that my husband is putting another woman's child before his own, and that it's not fair my daughter gets to have to dad figures 24/7, but her daughter only sees her father 2 weeks every month. Then for my daughter's birthday this summer, her father and her cousins came into the state and we threw her a huge party. Stepdaughter was there. And afterwards she left the state with her dad and he took her and her cousins to Disney World. We asked my stepdaughter's mom if she could come when my ex told me he was booking the trip and she said no. Which of course makes sense since she doesn't know my ex-husband. But she got very upset and said my daughter shouldn't be allowed to go since her daughter can't go. My ex-husband makes a lot of money and he can do things for my daughter that I can't. My therapist told me that my daughter might resent me if I don't let her and her dad's relationship flourish. And not allowing her to have things or do things to make my stepdaughter feel better is putting a burden on my daughter she didn't ask for. My husband agrees and says that we should just ignore his ex's outburst, so we did. Things got really bad this Christmas. We spent it with our son and my stepdaughter. My daughter spent it with her father and she came back with a lot of stuff. A lot. Even I was shocked. She even had a designer purse, Coach, but still. A bunch of skincare and makeup, Lululemon, other clothes, a bunch of gift cards, etc. My daughter's a preteen and is in that phase of her life, but I did not expect her dad to get her everything from her wish list. This year, my husband and I saved and bought my stepdaughter a new iPad, a lot of clothes, and even an Ulta gift card she begged for, but that's not even close to what my daughter got. My daughter said she was going to share everything with her stepsister, and they share a bathroom, and she unpacked all her products for them both to use. But when my stepdaughter came over after her week with her mom, she cried when she saw all the new things my daughter got. Even when my daughter said she'd share everything and wanted to do face masks together, my stepdaughter said no and started screaming at her dad that he needs to buy her everything like my daughter's dad buys her, and why does she get to dad's and she only gets none? We were all shocked. I send my daughter to her room so my stepdaughter can speak with her dad privately, and he tells me later that she told him that her mom told her that my daughter gets to have my husband live with her 24/7 and be a dad to her, and then has a dad that lives far away that buys her anything. And that if my husband loved her, he would choose to live with her full-time and not live with my daughter full-time. She's told us stuff like that, but I had no idea she was saying things like that in front of my stepdaughter. My husband assured his daughter that he loves and that love is more than just material things, but as a child that's hard to grasp. Ever since my husband's ex and her family have been slandering us online, calling my husband a deadbeat and saying that he loves my daughter more than his own daughter because he can watch her get everything his daughter wants and doesn't care. They're acting like my husband is the one buying things for my daughter. If her father wants to spoil her, how is that my husband's concern? My ex may not want to be an everyday dad, but I do appreciate his bond with my daughter and that through him she always be set in life. She must have given my number to her sisters and friends because I've been receiving non-stop texts and voicemails saying, how can I live with myself knowing I'm making a little girl miserable? Even when I block, I get new ones. They even went as far as to tell me that I should give my ex full custody so my stepdaughter doesn't have to see the special treatment. My ex has been saying he wants our daughter to go to a private school in my area when she gets to high school in 4 years that she has to be waitlisted for, and I can't imagine the issues that will arise then. Since my husband and his ex couldn't afford it, does that mean our daughter shouldn't go? My stepdaughter has become distant and doesn't want to leave her room when she comes over and is clearly repeating things her mom tells her like she gets to dad's, and I have known and I don't. Want your hand-me-downs when my daughter is offering her a skincare product, which mind you hasn't even been a month since she's gotten it. AITA.